Colleagues Nuri Martinez, our Vice Chair Paul Kikorian, and Member Marquise Harris Dawson. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the item before us today?
Item number 1 is a Chief Legislative Analyst report in response to motion Huizar, Price, Buscaino, relative to recommendations on the regulation of food street vending and regulation of merchandise and non-food street vending in the city of Los Angeles.
Okay, we're going to take some public comment on this item. Because of the large number of individuals who are requesting to speak, we're going to ask that you limit your remarks to 1 minute. And if you're with two or more that have the same things to say, perhaps you can just consolidate your thoughts with one person. But first up, let's have Kent Smith, followed by Patty from DLAC, Aaron Jimenez, Marcy Ramsey, and Ruben Gonzalez, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Kent Smith, the Executive Director of the LA Fashion District BID, representing 4,000 businesses in downtown Los Angeles. I brought a number of my board members and businesses with me today. I'd like to acknowledge them. We are opposed to allowing permitted sidewalk vending in the Fashion District. Our neighborhood is already inundated with hundreds of permitted mobile vendors every day and every weekend. They are already creating public safety hazards for pedestrians. The city has no tools to regulate the location, number, type of these legal mobile vendors. Please do not make the same mistake. If you decide to permit sidewalk vending, please allow the neighborhood to decide whether to opt in to the program and to get the tools to manage the number, type, location of vendors in each neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Hello. My name's Patty Berman. I'm president of the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. We do have a letter on file with you, but I just want to reiterate some of the points that we were concerned about. The first one being enforcement. There is not enough budget or manpower to enforce the problems that exist already, and we want to make sure that nothing is made legal until the illegal can be taken care of. All it will do is add to the problem. Also, if it is the desire of this city to give landlords the responsibility for their sidewalks, then they also should be able to say what can go on in front of them. They need the ability to opt out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marie Rumsey, and I'm here on behalf of the Central City Association. I think we can all agree that what we have right now for vending does not work. Our sidewalks are crowded, trash is left behind, and there are no considerations for existing brick-and-mortar businesses. The CLA report is thorough and did a good job providing the council with different models for a sidewalk vending program. The report is what we have been waiting for, and it was released less than a week before today's hearing. We need this committee to pull together a working group to discuss the different vending models and the associated issues discussed in the CLA report. This is the only way to get stakeholder input. All of the community meetings and committee hearings to date have taken place without this critical information. CCA believes good policy is developed through a consistent process that meaningfully engages stakeholders with the necessary information and details. CCA would like to sit down with the varied constituencies working on this issue and find common ground. The city has to be part of this conversation and should convene a working group. We urge this committee to give this item the consideration it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ruben Gonzalez. I'm here on behalf of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. Entrepreneurship is good. Economic activity is good. Wanting to have your own business is good. But we need to do this in a realistic framework that's based in reality. The reality is that different models work with different communities. We cannot have a cookie-cutter approach. The reality is You need to have a regulatory structure that is an even playing field so that you're not helping one over the other. You're allowing folks to compete on the even playing field. That won't exist. It doesn't exist now, and it won't exist under what's being pushed by some folks. We need to have an infrastructure here which takes into account what is necessary for public safety, for health regulations and requirements from the county, and for enforcement. You simply can't put in place a regulatory structure that will not have the resources or the basic daily ability to be enforced so that everyone is following the same rules and on that same playing field. Let's set up the working group and find a way to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. John Howland, Mitchell Viegra, Geraldine Stapleton, Mark Virantos, Sarah Mitchell.
Good afternoon. I'm John Howland with the Central City Association. CCA supports community and city-backed sidewalk vending districts. We believe you should allow those communities who want to have sidewalk vending to be able to do so. The City of Los Angeles is one of the largest geographical and most diverse cities in the world. A one-size-fits-all edict coming from City Hall will result in many unintended consequences given this size and diversity. The citywide vending model does not allow for community input. The hybrid model that's in the CLA report creates a number of issues, not the least of which is how does a community opt out of this system. Opting out is not realistic. It's cumbersome and puts too big a burden on the community. While an opt-in system reflects the community's will to create a district, and it can be a streamlined process that gives weight to council members who know their communities better than anyone else. The city must create a program that allows each neighborhood to decide what's appropriate for itself by choosing an opt-in model. CCA asked this committee to form a working group to develop the necessary details for community-supported sidewalk vending districts.
Thank you.
Hi, Mitchell Vieira with the Building Owners and Managers Association, and we represent over 300 commercial office buildings throughout the county of Los Angeles. And we also believe in an opt-in system for communities. We believe that property owners, though, should have a critical voice and a key vote in all of those processes, especially with liability that comes with sidewalks. There is the whole discussion right now on sidewalk repair, and that discussion should also translate over into sidewalk vending and street vending. We believe that it needs to be a fully funded effort with enforcement available, and also permits, health inspections, and other items that brick and mortar businesses, on-the-ground retail, in our properties can follow already. So we thank you for your time today, and we do appreciate you continuing this effort to find a model that we can all be a part of.
Hi, I'm Mark Valianatos, and I teach at Occidental College, and I've researched the history of vending in Los Angeles and also vending models in other cities. Los Angeles is the only large city that has a large population of unlicensed vendors and no policy to allow permitted vending on sidewalks. For that reason, we need a system that works for LA. And the system that works for LA will be a citywide system to allow vendors to get a permit. There'll be no cap on permits, which has created black markets in other cities. It'll allow vendors to be at the table whenever there's a discussion of the rules and restrictions. It'll rely on common sense location requirements to make sure that the public right-of-way, public safety, clean sidewalks, et cetera, are protected. And it'll also encourage the vending of healthy food to help encourage equitable access to healthy food in Los Angeles communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Geraldine Stapleton, President of California Now. I think you have me in the wrong stack, but however, I would support legalizing street vendors. I was to speak to, or to remind you of paid sick days, which is a public health issue and extremely important. I just wanted to remind the committee that we need to have that on the agenda and have that addressed, because I know I have been guilty in the past of going to work sick and endangering my coworkers, and because I couldn't afford to not work. And other people are in that very same position. We just recently had a situation where a person working in a restaurant, one person
is responsible for making over 60 people ill. And just from a public safety issue and health issue, we really, really need to address this issue of paid sick days. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Thomas, Nicole Shehanian, Caleb Hartley, Sarah Walsh.
Good afternoon. I'm Colin Thomas, and I represent Madame Tussauds in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. A crazy place to work, congested, street characters, CD vendors, and already the inability to enforce what's legal on the boulevard. We're not completely against street vending, but it needs to be, in our opinion, opt-in. It needs to be controlled, and it needs to be enforced. That's it. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Nicole Shehanian with the Hollywood Chamber. I'm here to urge your opposition to any one-size-fits-all approach to the legalization of sidewalk vending in Los Angeles. While street vending may be welcomed in some areas of the city, it's not appropriate for all areas of the city, and any policy you guys decide should account for that. We ask that any policy allowing for sidewalk vending should at a minimum allow for an opt-in clause for business improvement districts within the city where property owners already pay an additional assessment to keep their streets safe and clean. Additionally, adequate enforcement of any adopted program will be essential and must be fully funded. A sidewalk vending program should pay for itself, and enforcement should be available 24/7. And I just want to reinforce the problems that we just talked about with Colin on Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard itself is a very unique place, and we need to provide for protection of the Walk of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Sarah Walsh, and I'm here today on behalf of the Motion Picture Association of America and our member companies to raise two concerns regarding any new city vending policy. Firstly, as you are all aware, the sale of pirated films and television programs, as well as counterfeit studio merchandise, continues to occur throughout Los Angeles. We ask that the city vending policy specifically prohibit the vending of counterfeit merchandise and provide for the permanent revocation of any permit under which such product is being sold. Secondly, we echo the written comments made by Film LA and request that the council include language in any proposed street vending ordinance to maintain the ability to obtain temporary use permits for filming. Current city practice provides that film permits and other temporary city use permits supersede normal activity when issued by the City of Los Angeles in the public right-of-way. We ask that film permits be specifically included in the listing of city permits that would supersede proposed vending permits. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Caleb Hartley, and I'm here to represent the Washington Square Business Improvement Group at Venice Beach. As all of you know, we are very diversified at Venice Beach, the most eclectic cultural community maybe in the world. And we have a lot of small businessmen and women that represent our community. I'm here to say that we support sidewalk vending, but we ask that it should be the community's option to be in or out, whatever suits that particular community, because there's no cookie mold in Los Angeles. We're far too diversified for that. But if each community feels it's right for them, as business people, as residents, and their community at large, they can opt in or out. But let's not make this what's right for one section is right for another. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Sarah Walsh, Paul Simon, Noah Strauss, Jessica Yall, Jacqueline Mejia, Linda Bermudez.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Paul Simon with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. I oversee our Chronic Disease and Injury Prevention Division, also pediatrician. Here to speak regarding the benefits of a legalized and regulated street food program. I think the public health benefits focus on both food safety but also nutrition and improving what has appropriately been described by many as a toxic food environment. For this program, though, to address that issue, it would be very important to include a healthy food cart incentive, and it has to be a strong incentive, and there also has to be strong enforcement. Our environmental health division has actually been involved with staff in the city in the planning, and we are happy to continue to work with you on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Noah Strauss, representing the Historic Core Bid. We represent building owners and thousands of small owner-operated businesses that took great risk by investing in our evolving neighborhood. The Historic Core offers the only farmers market in downtown that offers EBT, which provides thousands of our low-income residents an opportunity to buy fresh and healthy foods outside their front door. We've also been offering a market match program which doubles the EBT benefits for qualifying customers. We're building a critical mass of residents, but in the meantime, it's a struggle to keep the market going. If on Sundays, vendors can set up in the vicinity for free and poach customers from vendors who rent booths at the market will not survive. We already received numerous complaints about unregulated food trucks which set up in the evening hours. LAPD is the only regular enforcement body working when we have the highest concentration of street and sidewalk vending. In neighborhoods where there's community support or need, stationary vendors who become part of the community with a fully funded and effectively enforced program makes sense. But if it must be able to be enforced in such a way that vendors lose the ability to vend if they do not comply with regulations.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Mejia, policy advocate with the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. CHIRLA is in full support of the legalization of street vending in the city of Los Angeles. CHIRLA believes a citywide vending system regulated by permits is the only comprehensive approach from the options provided by the CLA. We need to incentivize healthy food vendors and implement an easy application process that encourages participation. Lastly, we need humane enforcement. We cannot continue to criminalize vendors. When considering enforcement, the option of a misdemeanor should be absolutely taken off the table. Including a misdemeanor goes against the trust being built with our immigrant communities. If vendors are charged with a misdemeanor, this puts them at risk for deportation. While we are working to bring folks out of the shadows, this will only set us back and may disqualify folks for programs like DACA, DACA, and citizenship. We must be inclusive of all Angelinos. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Bermudez from the Los Angeles County Business Federation, BizFed, representing 155 business organizations, 275,000 employers, and over 3 million employees across the region. We are here today to urge the Economic Development Committee to consider the following principles regarding street vending. First, creates a reasonable system of zones for street vending. 2, limits the number of street vendors permitted. 3, regulates the type of street vendors permitted. 4, regulates the hours of operation. 5, encourages the collection of taxes through cooperation with the state. 6, ensures strong, effective, and properly funded enforcement of the ordinance. 7, enables BizFed to be included in the stakeholder process as the city develops and implements ordinance details. BizFed supports the LA City Street Vending Program that incorporates these principles and appreciates the opportunity to present these today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Mitchell. I'm with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. VICA has continuously pushed you and your colleagues to create more jobs in this city. And if street vendors in this building and outside the city want to create legitimate jobs in this city, they need to do business like our brick and mortars have to do business. Due to zoning, we can't just set up shop anywhere we want. Due to various ordinances, there's some caps on various uses and types of businesses in the city. And we know the regulation enforcement process that is in place for us. We need to hear from you a concrete number on caps on permits. New York City is nearly twice our size, and they cap their street vendors at 3,000. That might even be too much for our city when we don't even have an enforcement policy in place. We also need to see from you a funding and staffing budget so that we can ensure that you will regulate the legal vendors and close down the illegal businesses, just like you do for brick and mortars. VICA is pleased that we're finally having a discussion about job creation and more tax revenue and economic development for the city. But doing business here is not a wild, wild west, one-size-fits-all for us, and it can't be for this policy going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm speaking on behalf of Jessica Lall, Executive Director of the South Park Business Improvement District. We're a 32-block district in downtown Los Angeles, which includes the Staples Center, LA Live, the Convention Center, a fast-growing residential population, and hundreds of businesses. Given the significance of this topic and potential impacts to all Angelinos, and the fact that the report has not been released even a week, the South Park BID would like to recommend no action be taken until interested parties can convene to flesh out what the specifics of each proposed framework would and could look like, and provide more specific and thought-out feedback to the city. We believe in order to create a sound policy that the community and interested parties should have more time to weigh the options presented and provide thoughtful feedback to the city for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia Rodriguez, Francisco Romero, Aaron Ayulenta, Aisha Kosorov, and Mark Yavek. Apologize for butchering the names. Right up.
Hi, good afternoon. Aaron Alenta from the North Hollywood bid and the Figueroa Corridor bid. Both these bids are located within well-established and successful long-standing commercial districts. Our concerns with sidewalk vending include unfair competition to brick-and-mortar businesses, lack of regulation enforcement, public health issues, cleanup and sidewalks maintenance issues, and liability issues. If new model for vending is recommended today, we ask that it be a community-driven model with an opt-in provision for neighborhoods. It also include enforcement that is fully funded and effective, and that it adopt best practices from other cities with vending in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Alicia Kosriff, Corporate Counsel for the Helen Company. As a landowner in downtown, we have had tenants who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to support their own livelihood and the people that they employ. It would be unfair to allow sidewalk vendors to set up near or outside businesses that will impede traffic because for health and safety concerns, including trash that we've frequently seen left around, sanitary conditions, and lack of restrooms, which we ourselves are held to high standards. Such vendors have yet to maintain these health and safety conditions, and we believe that any policy going forward would have to have strict enforcement of these health and safety standards, which up to this point have proven dismal. So we believe that this is in the interest of fairness to our own business and for the business of our tenants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon. This is Francisco Romero, Unión del Barrio. First, let's talk about who is the Central City Association. Who are its members? Who are they really representing here? From our research, we're seeing that their members pay from $1,000 to $25,000 per year. That's a powerful lobby group. But all we see is 2 grocery store chains and a catering service that come up as members. So we need to really ask who's opposing this fervently versus who's supporting it. Who's carefully crafting an opt-out or opt-in discussion which really divides Los Angeles. We are one Los Angeles. So right off the bat, by going into a process of legalizing of vending, unites Los Angeles and creates 50,000 businesses on the spot. You have a chance here to make history. Support legalized street vending.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Mark Ryavec, and I'm the president of the Venice Stakeholders Association. And I'd like to second the comments of my colleague, Clay Hartley, who represents the Washington Square area. I'm asked that my letter to you be passed out because it did not show up in the file. We mailed it in May. We theoretically support the concept of street vending, but we would like any ordinance to include a opt-in provision or requirement, and that it be at the local block level. We currently have a dysfunctional vending ordinance in Venice, which puts a tremendous burden upon residents and small business owners. It is not enforced, and so we have lots of products that are not First Amendment related, that are made in China or Guatemala or Taiwan, that are being sold and competing right up against our tax-paying shopkeepers, and also creating a tremendous eyesore all along the boardwalk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Adina Tressler, Brian Doer, Stella Gracian, Estavo Hernandez, Kenneth Simpson, in that order, or in any order. Come on.
Good afternoon. I'm Isela Gracian, President with East LA Community Corporation. And I'm going to echo the sentiments of Mark Vianatos on a citywide street vending policy. Where street vendors generate over $500 million to the city of Los Angeles. And that is a contribution that is not being recognized by the opposition and by the businesses that have spoken here. And it sets very poor precedent for this committee and the city to set a policy that allows people to pick and choose what laws they can participate in, and it further institutionalizes discrimination into our system. So we need to have a citywide policy that has and allows for equitable decision-making by street vendors and by residents, that we can see it throughout the city. This is a critical component for a comprehensive economic development approach for the city that allows for the parents of a lot of students that are street vendors. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm here on behalf of the California Restaurant Association, and we are concerned about some things that seem to be missing from this conversation so far. That is, one, enforcement of these regulations. Who will be responsible, and where is the budget coming from? The other piece is public health. The restaurants that are members of our association are subject to permits, regulations, regular inspections. Those brick and mortar restaurants are held accountable for how they store their food, how they treat their food, for hand washing facilities, and for anybody that might get sick as a result of their food. I have not yet heard the discussion about how we plan to do that for mobile vending of food items, and I would very much like to hear from County Health and whoever the regulating enforcement arm of this ordinance will be, so that we better understand how street vendors too will be held accountable for public health. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Counselor. My name is Kenneth Earl Simpson. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, and I'm a vendor. I'm a street vendor on the sidewalk from Venice Beach to Alvarado. And even when I'm at Venice Beach and doing selling, this is all I get in selling, tickets. That's all I get. When I go to Alvarado, I still get tickets. They still give me ticket. So I think in my best collection, I think you should legalize the street vending. And it will be better for the middle class people. We'll feel much better to legalize it. Most of these people who come up here and talk about don't legalize the street vending, them is against street vending thing. Most of these people selling on the street, we don't make no money. Sometimes we go home with no money. Sometimes we don't sell anything. But we go home, we have to feed the family also. So I think you should, all you people up there, you should think and sit down and legalize the street vending. And I want to leave something with you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Brian Dror, and I only represent myself. I'm not here as part of any big group or organization on either side of this argument. I own property on Venice Beach, and I just want to point out I'm not going to reiterate all of the issues about regulation, safety, enforcement. That's all been discussed at length. I just want to point out to the committee members that they should not be swayed by the numbers of people sitting in this room on one side or the other of the argument. My tenants, representing 17 stores, they have to be at work today to keep their stores open so that they can pay sales tax and business license fees to help keep this city open. They have to stay open so they can pay my rent so I can pay property tax to help keep this city open. If you guys actually consider the proposal as it stands today, you should consider renaming your committee from the Economic Development Committee to the Economic Suicide Committee. Thank you.
Okay, please, let's respect each speaker has the right to speak. Rabbi Klein, Ernesto Hernandez, Claire Fox, Alex Shashama, and Yolanda Aguano.
Hi, Rabbi Jonathan Klein, clergy and laity, Unite for Economic Justice. The unlevel playing field referred to by opposition is horribly uneven, biased against people trying to survive with entrepreneurial energy. Shouldn't the business community that believes in no interference with the market support the right of any person to earn a living? Why should street vendors of LA be left behind when street vendors of so many other cities can thrive and the other businesses are doing fine? All religions believe in justice. Clergy and I all over Los Angeles urge the passage of an inclusive street vending ordinance that enables street vendors to operate with smart and just standards throughout this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Claire Fox, the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Food Policy Council. I have 4 points today. 1, we need citywide baseline standards for a sidewalk vending program. LA tried the district model. It failed and continues to fail. The opt-in model is not a real solution. It's the status quo. 2, the citywide program can include common sense rules on when, where, and how vending happens. A standard approach is easier and more cost-effective for vendors, the community, and law enforcement. 3, we understand that LA is a diverse community, and some communities have unique needs. Some sidewalks might have public safety questions. Whatever you decide to do here today, the process must be fair and inclusive of vendors. And 4, a healthy food cart program should be a part of the legalization of sidewalk vending. A special emblem can designate green carts. Special incentives in special areas can help expand access to healthy food where we know that is direly needed. Today we need you to be courageous and take bold action forward on a meaningful reform for sidewalk vending in LA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Sasayama, and I work in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm a resident of the Fashion District. My wife and I chose downtown LA and are proud Angelinos because of the vibrant streets and other public spaces brought to life by the creative and innovative entrepreneurs, including street vendors, throughout the city. These are the visionaries that saw and continue to see the promise of these spaces before everyone else has. It's critical that we support the conditions that make this possible. Imagine if Silicon Valley limited tinkering with technology to specific garages. Limiting street vending to specific areas would diminish the very conditions that foster innovation in public space, and that's why I support the citywide legalization of street vending. Let's follow the lead of our city startups and work together to make DTLA and all of our city the kind of place we're all proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you.
afternoon. Yolanda Anguiano with MEND, Meet Each Need with Dignity. We're a poverty relief organization in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. We have a goal to make 1,000 clients job ready. The people that we talk to are mostly single mothers that have used men's services because they can't afford to have these services elsewhere. In talking to them, we have learned that they do have the entrepreneur spirit and they want to increase the amount of income they bring home. So when this policy passes, we're going to be able to help those mothers go through the application process, understand the policies of being a legal sidewalk vendor. So please count on us for your support. Please support legalization of LA street vendors.
Okay, Gilbert Socedo, Ernesto Hernandez. Not here? Okay, that concludes our public comment. Okay, hold on. Does not include. Wait, there's more.
I gave you the where are the cards I just gave you? Right here.
Okay, Rudy Espinoza, Sophia Chung, Teresa Hin, Greg Skettles, Gilbert Salcedo.
Good afternoon. Hi everybody. My name is Rudy Espinoza. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership for Urban Renewal Network. I'm here again along with all these folks, a majority of folks who are here to support a citywide street vendor policy in the city of Los Angeles. We need this now. It's been 2 years in this legislative process, 2 years in this committee, and we haven't seen action. So I want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues that we want thoughtful action and leadership from the folks here. And I also want to caution around the opt-in, opt-out policy. We look to you and we elect you because we need leadership, and we need. You do not govern. We don't want a patchwork policy here. We want something that works for everybody, that works for vendors, that works for businesses, and works for the residents in our communities. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with today.
Hello, my name is Sophia Cheng with the Restaurant Opportunity Center. We support comprehensive legalization of street vending that is citywide and without any caps on permits. I want to speak from the consumer perspective. One of the services that ROC provides is training for restaurant workers to get their food handler certificate, and I see time and time again that after the training, workers feel more confident in their prep, cook, and serving skills because they know they can do it safely. Right now, the county and the city are inconsistent. They're at odds in the treatment of street vendors. Many vendors get cleared by the county health department, but then are criminalized in the city. We need to get the city up to the county food handler standards. And for those vendors in the shadows, fearful of any contact with government agencies, they will be required to get training in health and food prep standards. Legalization citywide promotes consumer food safety. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Zen. I am an attorney with a New Way of Life Reentry Project, and I am here to support a citywide legalization of street vending. I represent low-income people in Los Angeles County traffic courts on non-infraction tickets and misdemeanors like street vending. There, I advocate for reduced fines and a mitigation of the financial circumstances of a conviction. My experience has led me to the conclusion that our current traffic court system, where municipal code violations like street vending are prosecuted, drives inequality and reinforces poverty. The fines associated with infractions have grown excessively in the past few years. And furthermore, arrest warrants are issued when someone does not appear in court. The traffic court system is an unworkable system for street vendors, and instead of criminalizing and overcharging street vendors, the City Council should design a system that does not levy excessive financial burdens on street vendors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg Kettles. I'm an attorney, researcher, and commentator. I've written a number of law review articles and book chapters on sidewalk vending policy and sidewalk vending law. I studied the Los Angeles city's experiment with vending districts 10 years ago, interviewing illegal vendors, legal vendors, law enforcement, and policymakers. That experiment of legal vending districts failed, in part because the one small district became a magnet for illegal vending. Nobody wants to be the first to opt in to a legal vending program. And that's what people are basically saying today when they say there should be an opt-in program. That's an experiment that's already been tried and it failed. Vending should be legal citywide. Some people say there should be a cap on the number of vendors. That doesn't make any sense. When someone wants to open a restaurant in town, we don't say, sorry, there's a cap on the number of restaurants or a cap on the number of corner markets or stores selling balloons and party supplies. We don't put caps on those type of legal activities. We should not cap sidewalk vending either. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jerry, all right, please. Jerry Wings, Mercedes Sanchez, Francesca de la Rosa, Yolanda Lopez, Deborah Hyman. Please come forward. Maricela Sanchez, Blanca Perez.
Buenas tardes, señores. Mi nombre es Mercedes Sánchez, soy vendedora ambulante. Mi trabajo es tan digno y honesto como cualquier empleo. Estamos aquí para escuchar de ustedes una respuesta positiva.
Excuse me.
Is it okay if I translate?
Yes, please.
I am Mercedes Sanchez, and I am a street vendor. My work is done with honesty and dignity, the way other employment is. We are here to urge you for a positive response to legalize street vending citywide.
Hemos cumplido con los lineamientos que ustedes nos han marcado. Cumplimos con las 6 asambleas comunitarias en las cuales tuvimos el apoyo total de la comunidad.
We have satisfied the requirements asked of us. You've asked, and we did the 6 community hearings, and we had strong support from the community.
Ahora esperamos de ustedes que los permisos sean en toda la ciudad de Los Ángeles, no como he escuchado en este momento, que solo quieren que sean comunidades. Esto que dejaría a la mayoría de mis compañeros vendedores fuera del área y esto generaría que se fuera una discriminación.
And we urge that the permit system be citywide, not as I've heard here today, that people are asking for it to be in certain communities, because this would leave out a lot of my colleagues and discriminate against us.
Pedimos que los permisos sean un costo accesible, que se permita la venta en los parques y que se nos trate como empresarios, que es lo que somos, y no como ciudadanos de segunda clase.
We ask for the permits to be a reasonable cost, that we're able to sell in parks, and that you treat us like small businesses and entrepreneurs, not like second-class citizens.
Porque también generamos empleos y pagamos taxes.
Because we do generate employment and pay taxes.
Por esto exigimos una respuesta positiva. Estamos cansados de esperar y de luchar, señores concejales. Estamos en sus manos y está en ustedes ponerle fin al acoso que sufrimos de parte de la policía.
That's why we're here demanding a positive response, and we're tired of waiting, and we've been working hard, council members, and it's in your hands to put an end to the harassment that we suffer on behalf of the police.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Yolanda López, soy vendedora ambulante del Valle de San Fernando y Buenas tardes, soy Yolanda López. Soy vendedora ambulante del Valle de San Fernando y vengo a decirles cómo la policía nos acosa demasiado, cómo nos da tickets, cómo nos trae de un lado para otro. Vengo a pedirles que apoyen unos permisos de trabajo porque tenemos familia que mantener. Yo tengo mis nietas y mis hijos.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Lopez. I'm from San Fernando Valley. I'm here to let you know that the police harasses us and they give us tickets. They take us from one place to another. I'm here to ask you to please support this law and get us permit because I need to support my daughters and my grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Marisela. Vengo del Centro de Trabajadores de Costura. Yo estoy aquí apoyando de los días de enfermedad. Les voy a platicar que tuve mala experiencia en el trabajo. Tuve un acoso sexual en el trabajo. Por eso me enfermé. Y cuando voy con el doctor, no me pagan ese día. Por eso es un abuso que no nos paguen ese día. Necesitamos que nos ayuden. Por eso una injusticia y un abuso. Gracias por escucharme.
Good afternoon. My name is Marisela. I'm here representing the workers on the sewing industry. I just wanted to talk to you regarding the paid sick days that we are entitled to. I just wanted to share with you an experience that I have. I was sexually harassed at work, and for the same reason, I got sick, and I had to go to the doctor. But because I went to the doctor, that day was not paid to me. And we need to request you to please help us. This is an injustice and an abuse. Please listen to
All right,
us. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we're on street vending. If you wanted to have a comment on something else, that'll be under general public comment at the end of the meeting.
Good afternoon. My name is Francesca De La Rosa with Works. We are a nonprofit affordable housing developer that is here in solidarity with our coalition partners fighting for an equitable and just city for all. More than 2 years into this process, our position remains the same. A fair, equitable, and responsible way forward is for the creation of a comprehensive citywide program, which means no caps on permits, vending in streets and parks should be allowed, and making sure our city is a city that works for everyone. This means it's time to put a stop on the use of city resources to criminalize the poor and those simply trying to make a living. We as a city are better than this. What many of us are feeling and are fearful of today is that today will end like so many others we have witnessed, kicking a critical decision down the road, more inaction, and honestly hearing very little on what exactly you and your colleagues will do to ensure that folks can keep their jobs, live with dignity, and live without fear from police harassment. Let's not delay any further. Stand with us and support a responsible,
Thank you.
humane, and fair citywide program.
Thank you.
My name is Deborah Hyman. I am a street vendor, a proud street vendor. I would love to have my brick and mortar one day. Right now it's not possible because you guys are making it difficult for me to be a legalized street vendor. Please give me that chance to one day have my brick and mortar, to be where you guys are. I want to be there one day too. I want to have my brick and mortar too. But until then, I'm a proud street vendor. Support me. Thank you.
Okay, please, Jerry Wings, Blanca Perez, Canidad Vasquez, Fanny Ortiz, Marco Aruzu, and Daud Ledevis. David Ledevis. Please come.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Caridad Vázquez y soy vendedora ambulante. Ya como ustedes escucharon, todos los problemas que tenemos, todos los que vendemos en la calle, unos apoyan, otros no. La pregunta es esta, ¿qué va a ser de nosotros?
Okay, un momento, por favor. No, I don't mind. Are you translate so we can
Yes,
hear?
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Que queremos saber, así como estoy escuchando como vendedora, estamos escuchando, mucha gente nos apoya, mucha gente no, pero desgraciadamente somos trabajadores, nos tratan como delincuentes, somos personas trabajadoras, aportamos, hacemos taxes y todo. Otra cosa, estamos conscientes que nos van a poner reglas para vender, estamos dispuestos. Yo no sé por qué dicen que no quieren legalizarnos, ¿en qué les afectamos nosotros? Tanto también como ellos como nosotros nos estamos beneficiando. Todas las personas que venden se benefician de nosotros porque nosotros vamos a comprar. Y si no vendemos, no van ellos también a vivir. Entonces ellos sí tienen derecho y nosotros no. Por eso queremos que nos apoyen, estudien nuestro caso, como nosotros somos trabajadores, no somos delincuentes. Gracias.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Caridad Vázquez. Also a mobile street vendor. We have a lot of problems. I'm here to get your support. And wanted to let you know that we are workers. We're not criminals. We support the system. We file taxes. We are aware that you're going to give us rules and regulations. We are not against it. I don't understand why you don't want to legalize it, because we are part of the economy, and the people that buy from us are getting benefits, and we also go and buy from other people, so there are benefits there. So I don't know why not. Please legalize the street vending. Thank you.
Ask for a little bit more time because I'm going to be speaking in English and Spanish since not everyone has a headset. So, hi everyone, my name is Fanny Ortiz and I am the treasurer of the Ball Heights Neighborhood Council, but I am here as a resident to support legalizing street vendors citywide. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Fanny Ortiz y soy la tesorera del Concilio de Vecinos de Ball Heights y estoy aquí como residente apoyando la legalización de vendedores ambulantes en toda la ciudad. We need not to only legalize street vendors, but create a fair policy to meet the needs of street vendors. The policy should not implement racist segregation, but inclusiveness of all citywide vendors. Necesitamos no solamente legalizar la venta ambulante, pero crear una justa y equitativa póliza para satisfacer las necesidades de los vendedores ambulantes en toda la ciudad sin implementar una segregación racista. Decriminalize to legalize street vendors is the window of opportunity for economic justice for our 50,000 local entrepreneurs. Street vendors deserve to work with dignity. Despenalizar para legalizar los vendedores ambulantes es la ventana para una justicia económica para nuestros 50,000 empresarios locales. Los vendedores ambulantes merecen trabajar con dignidad. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Mi nombre es Marco Arbizu, vengo de San Fernando Valley, soy vendedor ambulante. Yo empecé a vender en la acera hace 4 años. En eso llegó, a las 2 semanas llegó la policía, agente department, y me quitó todas mis cosas. Y me dijeron, sáquete un permiso para que no te molestemos. Saqué mi permiso y a las 2-3 semanas me quitaron de mi lugar, que no podía vender en las aceras. Entonces, por lo tanto, estamos pidiendo que nos legalicen la venta ambulante en toda la ciudad, que nos den permiso de vender en banquetas y parques, que no haya límite de permisos y que no haya cargos menores, y que el departamento de policía esté enterado de eso, para que no nos traten como criminales y nos dejen vender. Lo único que queremos es trabajar y no ser una carga para el Estado. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Marco. I'm also from San Fernando Valley. I just wanted to let you know that I've been a street vendor from the last 4 years. And after starting doing it, 2 weeks later, I was stopped by the police and they took everything that I own. Later on, he told me to please get a permit. So I did. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, also, again, they asked me why I was selling on the streets, and everything that I had, it was taken. So I just urge you, please give us a permit all citywide to all the vendors. We are workers. We don't want to be accosted and harassed by the police. We are not criminals. We are workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Blanca Perez. Yo soy una madre soltera de 3 hijos. Y para sacar adelante a mi familia, yo vendo paletas en el Valle de San Fernando. Es un trabajo honrado y digno que me da para vivir. Un día, hace 4 años, fui detenida por la policía de Los Ángeles, solo por vender paletas. Y sin tener ningún cargo, me mandaron a la cárcel al condado. Ahí el sheriff comenzó mi proceso de deportación. Gracias a la ayuda de Chirla, no me deportaron. Y sigo aquí luchando. Hoy, junto con mis compañeros vendedores, demandamos al Consejo de la ciudad para que la persecución y criminalización de vendedores ambulantes en la ciudad
Good afternoon. My name is Blanca Perez. I'm a single mother. I have 3 daughters. I support them by selling popsicles in the street. This is a dignified job. It's an honest job. I've been doing it for 4 years, and about 4 years ago, the police stopped me, and because I was selling popsicles, even though I didn't have no charges, I was sent to the county jail, and they were processing the deportation. Thanks to Sherma, I was not deported, and today, along with my street vendors, co-workers here, I'm asking the city council to please legalize the street vending in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We need your help.
Okay, Jerry Wings, Blanca Perez, Caridad Velasquez, Julio Mendez, Antoine McDaniel, Margarito Mendez. One up.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you guys for having me. Antoine McDaniel, as you guys know, I'm a legalized street vendor. I don't know if you guys can hear me, sorry about that. I'm a legalized street vendor, but even before I was legalized, I'm still the same person. There's lots of other vendors that are out there just like me, and a lot of the points that have been argued are a point to be made, but there's a bigger point to be made, that at home, not everyone, but most of the street vendors have kids and have families that are hungry, and when you go home and those kids say, Mommy, Daddy, or I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, those kids can't wait to eat. When those kids' diapers need to be changed, or if they need diapers, those diapers can't wait to be, changed on those kids. Parents are responsible for, making a living for themselves and those kids and keep a roof over their head. But as long as street vending is not legalized, then you'll constantly see people out there homeless trying to make it. But instead, you guys can legalize street vending and make a way for those that are vending out on the streets to create a living for their families and make their way up one day to have their own business. Thank you guys for having me.
you.
Please legalize street vending.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jerry Wingo, and I'm a street vendor. I vend in Lamert Park. I want to thank you for hearing me out today. A while back, this item was on the agenda. I came down to City Hall and filled out my speaker card, and you went in a closed session and voted without hearing me out. So thank you for hearing me today. The city of Los Angeles doesn't have a job for me. So I've taken the initiative to use my skills to create something that people will buy from me. And that's my living. That's the way I make my living. And so I want to speak to the brick and mortar business owners who are anti-street vending And they need to know that some of the money that we make goes into supporting their business. And so why hate on us? You know, we're just trying to make a living. We want to eat. And so oftentimes business people in the past have done this, taken this kind of initiative, and they've been patted on the back and like it's a great thing. It's the American way. And so I want you to take the time to sit down and work with us. That's what we're trying to do. We're coming here to talk to you, to work with us. We need this ordinance passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Eulogio Méndez, vengo de Panorama City del Distrito 6. Yo soy vendedor ambulante y lo que exigimos es que nos legalicen, que ya es hora y justo, no que se la lleven nada más ahí, pensando y no nos resuelvan. También que nos den permisos accesibles y en toda la ciudad de Los Ángeles, que nos dejen vender en parques y banquetas. Es todo, gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
You're not on.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so my last name is Mendez. I'm a street vendor. I just want to ask you to please legalize and make it fair and do it now. Don't keep thinking and thinking that you were going to do it. We want you to please legalize the street vending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Margarito Méndez, yo vengo de Panorama City, del Distrito 6. La razón de que estoy aquí es porque nos urge la legalización y que nos puedan dar permiso en toda la ciudad y que no haya límites de permisos. Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Manuel Mendez. I'm from Panorama City, from District Number 6. I'm here to request to legalize that street vending. We need a permit in all the citywide. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last speakers for this public comment, Laura Milan, Rick Rodriguez, Michael Israel, Julie Luang, Cynthia Barker, William Flores, Daniel Tamalian, David Duckworthy, and David Bourne. Please, come forward.
Legalized street vending. I've been arrested twice for trying to make a living selling on the streets. It was thrown out. There's street vending in New York, Atlanta, and how many other cities in the U.S. legally? This is the second largest city in the country, and no street vending. It's about 100,000 people doing street vending in L.A. Why don't you, the government, for example, just legalize it, charge the people $100 permit a year, and that's $10 million to the government instead of none. And at the end of the year, we report our earnings and pay taxes. How much more money is that? The reason crime is up and it will go higher is because people are not allowed to make a living. Rich people, please don't get caught in the middle of a crime because some poor people wasn't allowed to make a living legally. I didn't get any tickets. I was arrested for street vending.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Laura Millán y yo apoyo la venta de vendedores ambulantes. Yo soy vendedora ambulante. Para mí hay más restricciones, se nos cierran más las puertas porque yo no soy mujer, soy chica transgénero. Y vengo apoyando a mis amigas chicas transgéneros que solo buscamos trabajo. Nosotros somos más discriminadas, se nos cierran las puertas más por no ser una mujer o un hombre. Pido a ustedes que nos ayuden a todos los vendedores, a todos mis compañeros, que no haya más restricciones que nos apoyen. Nosotros somos seres humanos igual que ustedes. Ustedes tienen un sueldo, un trabajo, nosotros no, tenemos que salir a buscarlo. Todos los días estamos pensando cómo sobrevivir, cómo pagar la renta, cómo darle de comer a nuestras familias. Apóyenos, por favor, se los pido. En sus manos está y en las manos de Dios. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura. I'm a street vendor. Just wanted to say that we have more restrictions because I'm a transgender, and as a transgender, we have more restrictions, more problems than any regular people. We are just like you, so I'm asking you to please legalize the street vending. We're asking you, why not? Please do so. We need this to be doing in the side, in all the citywide. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rick Rodriguez. I am a downtown resident, and I am also a land use attorney practicing in the city of Los Angeles. I'm here today to express my great support for a citywide street vending program and to respectfully request that this committee take the necessary action to recommend a framework that is citywide, that does not put a cap on any number of permits, that allows both merchandise and food sales, but encourages and incentivizes healthy foods, and does not place unreasonable hours restriction or location restrictions. Street vending in the city of Los Angeles has long been a part of our culture and is deeply ingrained in our urban fabric. Many other municipalities, cities across this nation have already welcomed the street vendors into their small business community, and I think it's time that the city of Los Angeles start recognizing the entrepreneurs in this room as small businesses and not criminals. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Don Duckworth. I'm the Executive Director of the Westchester Town Center Business Improvement District. Our Board of Directors has considered this item on several occasions and does not welcome it for all the reasons, many reasons that were cited here today. In addition, and there may be an error in some of the paperwork, that Westchester Playa Neighborhood Council has taken a position against any legalization of street vending, as has the Westchester Streetscape Improvement Association. So it may be appropriate in some communities. I don't think that'll be Westchester. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Leung, and I'm a program coordinator at the Prevention Institute, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to preventing illness and injury in the first place. Our work focuses on comprehensive and strategic approaches to improving the community conditions that contribute most significantly to health and well-being, including equitable access to fresh and healthy foods and in the community. Many Angelenos in low-income neighborhoods live in an environment that has inadequate access to supermarkets, sit-down restaurants, and fresh produce. Legalizing street vending in Los Angeles is one way that we can provide access to healthy food options in communities that struggle with high rates of preventable chronic diseases. And it is important to incentivize the number of street vendors that sell healthy food, particularly near schools and parks. Prevention Institute supports an environment that encourages healthy eating and equitable access to fresh food. And the legalization of street vending is an important step to improving health equity and health outcomes in communities throughout Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Cynthia Anderson Barker. I'm a civil rights attorney with the National Lawyers Guild, and we've been running free legal clinics for street vendors for the past few years. We support citywide vending, no opt-in and no opt-out. I live on the west side of LA near UCLA. I know that our community will want to opt out. Well, what is that going to do? It's racially based, racially motivated, and it will further demarcate racial boundaries in our communities. I also want to say that here with me today are many street vendors from the MacArthur Park and the downtown business district in the fashion district. They should be allowed to speak. I know you've cut off public comment. They've put note cards in. You have to allow them to speak, and they are here. I also want to say they're a wonderful model for working cooperatively with the LAPD in MacArthur Park. LAPD is not confiscating their goods or ticketing them. They've reached an accommodation. We can do this citywide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes. Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Aureliano Santiago. Vengo representando a los vendedores ambulantes del distrito de la moda, que es mejor conocido que es el Callejón. Queremos la legalización de vendedores ambulantes y alto la discriminación de la policía. Que no nos traten como un criminal, que nos traten como un trabajador más, que nosotros estamos produciendo, pagamos impuestos. Queremos estar legal con nuestros impuestos, con nuestro negocio que tenemos. Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Aurelio Santiago. I'm from the Fashion District. I just wanted to tell you that we want to legalize the street vending and stop that harassment from the police. We want to be treated like workers, not like criminals. We are paying our taxes. We pay all our dues. We want to be legal and be treated like such. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Dora Juárez. Yo vengo representando a los vendedores de los callejones y vengo pidiéndole a ustedes que se pongan la mano en la conciencia, que los policías nos tratan como criminales. No somos criminales. Yo soy madre soltera de 4 hijos y aunque yo tenga un permiso de trabajo, lo primero que nos piden es que tengamos 1 año, 2 años de experiencia. ¿Cómo? Si nunca hemos trabajado. Yo soy una madre sufrida y como madre soltera yo creo que aquí hay muchos. No nos merecemos. Yo como madre, yo tengo que sacar 4 hijos adelante y les pido de favor que ustedes lo imposible, todo es posible y gracias por su atención.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Dora Juarez. I'm representing all the workers from the Fashion District. I just want to ask you to please put your hand on your heart and please think about us. I'm a single mother. I'm raising 4 children. I've been working. I had a permit to work, but still they request a permit and they ask us for experience, 1 or 2 years of experience. How can we get experience if we don't get a permit? Also, I wanted to let you know that I'm a suffering a single mother. I need to work to raise these children. Please help us. Legalize the street vending. Thank you.
Hi, I am a vendor from 7th and Alvarado, and I wanted to say me as a resident...
May your name, please?
Yesenia Martinez. Me as a resident of the United States for 44 years and becoming a U.S. citizen, I've been discriminated for being a transgender woman. In the jobs, discrimination because they look at my appearance and not my skills. Before I was a vendor, I used to prostitute, I was depressed, and I didn't know how to pay my rent. Now that I am a vendor, I have an income, a low income, I am not depressed. I am now not prostituting. I ask you all to pass this law because we are honest working people. If we do not pass this law, there will be more homeless, there will be more hunger, there will be more depression. And the people, business owners, I just ask you one thing. Would you hire me at your job or would you discriminate me because of my appearance? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Amilcar Reyes, vengo de parte de la Unión de Vendedores Ambulantes. Venimos a pedir la legalización porque para los beneficios de las familias y también de la ciudad, porque vamos a pagar nuestros impuestos. Necesitamos que nos den los lugares que sean apropiados para la venta, para que esto tenga buen funcionamiento. Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. I'm also here representing all the Street Vendors Union. This is going to benefit not only the families but also the city. We are asking you to please give us the proper places where to do the street vending, and we'll be able to abide with the law. We want to please legalize the street vending. Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Carlos, represento a la Unión de Vendedores
del MacArthur Park. Estamos acá porque queremos, oiga, queremos ser dignamente representados. Queremos, lo único que queremos solamente es trabajar dignamente. Recuérdese de algo que no se ha hablado acá, es que de algunos de nosotros, de lo que nosotros queremos hacer legalmente, oiga, aportamos a nuestras familias en nuestros países, ¿verdad? Lo único que le pedimos acá a ustedes, señoras representantes que están acá, que por favor y con todo respeto, que tomen en cuenta la necesidad de cada uno de nosotros. Muchísimas gracias, que Dios les bendiga. Bye.
Thank you.
My name is Carlos. I'm also representing all the Street Vendors Union from the MacArthur Park. We want to ask you to please let us work with dignity. We only need to work, and we wanted to do it with dignity. We pay our taxes. We support our families. We have support our families in our countries. We want to continue this. So I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, please legalize the street vending. Thank you.
Okay, let me just a break for a minute here. We've got cards from 5 individuals. Let me call those names. If we don't have a card, I'm going to ask that you speak during general comment at the conclusion, because cards have not been submitted. Laura Million, Julie Leung, William Flores, Daniel Tamalia, and David Bourne. And if I have not called your name, we're going to ask you to speak during general comments, please.
Yes, honorable members of the Los Angeles City Council. My name is David Bourne. I'm the Director of Security at Staples Center, also with AEG. AEG owners and operators of Staples Center and LA Live operate several large public assembly venues in the city of Los Angeles. As an operator of large public assembly venues, we respectfully request that any plans take into consideration the need for unencumbered sidewalk access in the areas adjacent to these venues. On a daily basis, our facilities attract thousands of event patrons who arrive and depart within a narrow window. The large number of patrons and the nature of these events require us to maximize their ability to enter and exit in a safe manner. Furthermore, as operators of high-profile sports and public music venues, one must always keep in mind the potential need to implement emergency management plans in the event of extraordinary circumstances in our facilities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for your service. My name is Daniel Taleli, and I'm a partner at Emerging Markets, Inc., which is a Los Angeles economic development consulting firm based here in Los Angeles. Over the last 15 years or so, I've been proud to attract and support a variety of retailers to neighborhoods in a number of your council districts, as well as places like the LA River Corridor, which I think will be another great vending district. I'm here to speak in support of street vending and in a citywide, consistent, and clear platform for supporting micro-entrepreneurs. One example is just this year, I was happy to facilitate over $2 million of philanthropic capital deployed to Los Angeles micro-lenders to support and fund healthy enterprises at the micro-enterprise level. We consider street vendors to be part of that group along with small markets and whatnot. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, these are the last three speakers. These are the last three speakers during this segment. Laura Million, Julie Leung, and William Flores. If I have not called your name, we're going to ask that you please speak during general comments. Laura Million, Julie Leung, and William Flores.
I'm William Flores. My name is William Flores, and I am a parliamentarian at Zapata King Neighborhood Council. But today I come on behalf of CD Tech. I ask that you, like us, you support the legalization of street vending. We love our community, and the street vendors are a big part and vital part of this community and its culture. I love LA. We do not want a cap permit because, as shown by other cities, it does not work. Instead, we want a program that is accessible to entrepreneurship and that allows people to become their own actors of their own lives. I keep hearing that we need jobs and that we need to lower the unemployment rate. These are jobs, and they shouldn't be shunned, but should be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, unless your name is Laura or Julie, I'm going to ask that you hold your comments until the end.
Okay, I did submit a comment card. My name is Gilbert Salcedo with the National Lawyers Guild, and I'm here to urge you to approve a citywide street vending ordinance where the permit fees are reasonable, where the vendors can afford to pay for them. I'm asking you this because it's good public policy. We have a very high unemployment rate in the city of LA. These people who are street vending are trying to support their families. They have very few options. And if you keep putting obstacles in their way, it's going to happen like many people who are in their circumstances are resorting to crime and illegal ways of supporting their families. These people have opted to do it in an honest way. They should be supported, encouraged, and instead of putting obstacles in their way, which will eventually may push some of them to snap and give up on the system and try to support their families any other way they can, which may increase homelessness, may increase crime rates. And those same people, those same business owners who are here today asking you to oppose street vending will be here asking you to do something about the higher crime rates, the higher homelessness. And then what options are you going to have? Are you going to banish these people from the city? That's very bad public policy. I'm asking you to do a sensible approach, provide support for these street vendors who are creating jobs of their own, employing other people besides themselves, contributing to the economy by a multiplier effect of spending, of creating more economic activity. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for your robust comments on both sides of this issue. It's clear that the status quo is not acceptable, and we need to move forward. We've asked CLA to come forward to help us identify a framework that's going to permit us to move forward on some of the many critical issues. We certainly want to respect community consumer concerns, brick and mortar concerns, and also the concerns of entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs. And so your comments certainly help in this deliberation process. And this is I should say, a deliberation marathon. This is not going to stop today. Unfortunately, it's been going on, discussions have been going on for a while, and we're going to continue this discussion until we arrive at a solution that makes sense for everyone. And so with that, Mr. CLA, why don't you present your findings for us this time?
My name is Felipe Chavez. I'm with the CLA's office, and this is my colleague, Ivania Sobalbarro. Before you today is the third CLA report on the issue of sidewalk vending. The first report focused on initial community input and preliminary research on what other cities were doing with respect to sidewalk vending. The second report was presented to this committee on December 2nd, 2014, and it consisted of a potential sidewalk vending framework. At that time, the committee requested additional information on what a sidewalk vending program could look like. In addition, our office was asked to conduct public hearings to gather more community input. This report before you today describes the history of sidewalk vending in the city, existing laws related to sidewalk vending, the community engagement process, an examination of what other cities are doing with regard to sidewalk vending, and it concludes with a discussion of options should the council wish to change current law. With regard to the history of sidewalk vending, it is important to highlight that during the 1990s, the city went through a sidewalk vending development process. In 1994, the council adopted the Special Sidewalk Vending District program, which allowed for the formation of sidewalk vending districts. In 1995, the council approved a petition to form the MacArthur Park Sidewalk Vending District. To date, this has been the only district established. Currently, Municipal Code Section 4200B prohibits vending on city sidewalks and streets except for the sale of free speech items as specified in Municipal Code 4200B 1, 2, and 3. Section 4200M allows for the formation of sidewalk vending districts. However, no districts are in existence at this time. These sections of the municipal code are enforced by the Public Works Department, the Bureau of Street Services, and the Los Angeles Police Department. According to the Bureau of Street Services, citations issued by Bureau of Street Services are referred to the city attorney, who determines whether to prosecute. Citations issued by the police department are also referred to the city attorney. However, LAPD officers have the discretion of issuing administrative citations which are not referred to the courts for prosecution. In terms of the community engagement process, our office conducted 6 community meetings at the request of the chair of this committee. Representatives from the police department, the Bureau of Street Services, Economic and Workforce Development Department, Recreation and Parks, the Office of Finance, and the County Health Department were present at these meetings. At each of the meetings, our office conducted a PowerPoint presentation and allowed time for verbal community input. In addition, committee members were given the opportunity to submit written comments and to complete a survey. The survey results are attached to the report. In addition, our office examined sidewalk vending laws in 10 other cities. Most of the cities examined allow vending on sidewalks with exceptions. Some limit vending by type of food, by vending location, licensing requirements, operating requirements, and placement requirements. All cities require a county health permit for the sale of food items. Lastly, we have provided a section labeled Discussion of Options. These options are intended to serve as a guide to inform the council of actions necessary for the development of sidewalk vending policy should the committee and the council wish to make changes to existing sidewalk vending laws. Each option opens with a discussion of the topic. It includes issues raised by the community, provides information on what other cities are doing, and closes with the policy consideration for the committee. The fundamental question is whether the council wishes to amend current law. If the council wishes to amend the law to allow vending, the next question would be, how should the council amend the law? Essentially, what type of model the council wishes to implement, citywide, special districts, or a hybrid, which would be a combination of citywide and special districts. If it is the desire of the council to move forward with establishing a new sidewalk vending program, departments need the council's guidance with regard to program guidelines, enforcement, compliance, and whether the penalty amounts for sidewalk violations should be changed. In the options section, each option includes recommendations for staff to report with recommendations on the selected model, cost associated with the program, staffing, and other needed resources. Departments would also report back on specific rules and regulations needed for council consideration. We're available to answer any questions, or we can go through the option sections.
Yeah, let's go through the, we'll see if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can go through the option sections, and we'll entertain any questions that the members may have.
The first.
Why don't we begin with the action 2? Action 1, we're going to obviously defer back to the council, I think, but we're looking at actions that we can take today that will be subsequently referred back to council and then back to this committee. Let's start with action 2.
Okay, under action 2, the committee and the council would be responding to the question on whether, I believe the first question is whether the council wants to change the law. If the law was to be changed, then what type of model for a new sidewalk vending program should be adopted? And there are 3 different options under this model.
Can you just briefly describe the 3? And
yes, it's a citywide model which would allow sidewalk vending citywide. A special district model which would only allow vending in certain specified districts. And action C would be a combination or hybrid model which would be a sidewalk and special districts model.
And are there, does the hybrid model provide more options for the council to act within?
Yes.
How do you distinguish that from the other 2?
So under the hybrid model, the council would establish rules and regulations for a citywide program. In addition, there would be an opportunity to establish a new set of rules and regulations for the districts. Now, depending on your guidance or your choice, the districts between the regulations and rules between each district can be the same rules and regulations, or they can be specific to that district.
Yes.
I get the different models that you outline in your recommendations, but none of them really speak about the specifics about each of the models. So when are we going to get to that? When are we going to hear what this looks like? For example, if the council were to support a hybrid approach, where would the vending be allowed to? Would it be restricted to certain commercial or industrial areas? Would it include residential areas? The other question I had around specific districts, and I don't know if Sharon wants to chime in on this or not, is who would be able to establish those specific districts in these neighborhoods, and where the neighborhoods have a say-so? So there's a lot of different questions that I have about the different models you've presented, but those details don't come with the different models you've outlined. And the other part of this is a proactive enforcement piece to each of these models, which I also had a question about.
So you are correct. The regulations are not specific yet. What we were looking for was some fundamental guidance on what kind of policy the City Council is interested in moving forward, if it is your desire to move forward on a change to the existing program. So the first question that Felipe just walked you through was 3 options for a type of program. All of the regulations and rules would come subsequent to that. And I was actually telling your Chief of Staff just a moment ago that in terms of the 3 options that are presented before you, it's almost like if you can envision, and I hate to use this analogy, but if you can envision a pizza, that a citywide program is kind of like a pizza. If you want yes, because it covers the whole city. If you wanted a program that was only district specific, it would be the pepperoni only. If you wanted a citywide program with specialized districts within the city, it's almost like a pepperoni pizza. So that's kind of a distinction between each one of those 3. I apologize, but that's what my chart looked like when we were drawing it out. Now, with regard to how you decide on those 3 options, within those options, you can also decide how the community would provide input to you. The third question, as part of our report, goes to some of the regulations that you're talking about. So let's say, for example, that within whichever option you choose, you can decide that you may want only vending in commercial districts, that you might want vending in commercial and industrial districts. As part of the rules and regulations, there might be requirements that sidewalks be a certain width in order to allow for the vending to occur, to provide a circumference around that vending, and also to provide access for the walking public. So there are different things that can be put in place as regard to where the actual placement of vending could occur. And then there's been a lot of talk about enforcement. Enforcement is a big part of this. However, the one thing about enforcement is very different for a program that is citywide versus a program that is only district specific, which is why we wanted to start with the fundamental question. The other thing is that if it's a citywide program, obviously the permitting requirement would be much more substantial. The enforcement, which would be also much more substantial. So in terms of the type, was kind of like the first question we were trying to get guidance on. The next thing was guidance on some of the program-specific guidelines and rules, which would come back to you. Based on what we come up with in terms of rules and regulations, then it's the enforcement aspect and permitting staff that we would have to come back to you with based on the design of the program. So it was kind of like a 3-4 step process. In terms of the penalties, which was kind of also discussed, that's somewhat separate. And that can come later in terms of how
may want to change penalties that currently exist today. There are two different sets of penalties right now that are being enforced or not enforced, depending upon your viewpoint on it. Currently, sidewalk vending is illegal in the city, and there are two ways that it's being enforced. It's either through by LAPD or by street services, and it could be either penalties that are or misdemeanor ticket infractions that are issued by LAPD, or it's also, there is an administrative code enforcement program that was recently launched that keeps it out of the court system, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of the general overview of what we're trying to get at.
What makes it frustrating for me is I was hoping to get specifics on the different models to keep this item moving. To make a decision on models that we don't have any specifics for ties our hands. And so what I was hoping that we would accomplish in today's committee is that we would actually have specifics to the different types of models, specifically around the proactive enforcement piece, so that we can keep the item moving, as opposed to you're going to go back, come up with another report and bring it back to committee because we don't have specifics for these different types of models. It just makes it frustrating to be quite frank.
We understand that, but as we were talking in our office, clearly with all the different options that are available to us, the scenarios were almost infinite. And so we were looking for some general direction as it relates to coming up with the program rules, regulations, and requirements and guidelines. We're not suggesting here that this is the only iteration or the only shot that you have at it. We can come back with, depending upon what you instruct us to do and in terms of a general parameters of what a program could look like, we could come back to you, and then at that time you can make additional changes, ask for additional information. But at this point, it was something that we needed to bring forward to you in terms of having the general policy discussion of whether you wanted to move forward and an idea of the type of program that you may want, if it's limited, if it's citywide, or not at all. Or even in terms of the types of permits that you want to issue, whether you want to limit the type of permits that are issued, whether it be food only or merchandise only, or a combination of the both, or whether you want to cap those permits. So there's a lot of different iterations, and the enforcement and permitting costs that go with it can change significantly depending upon your decisions on those items.
Yeah, if I could just chime in. Councilwoman, I share your concern, and a lot of people are concerned that we're adopting a policy without really understanding what's in it. And I think what staff is saying is they'd like to get some direction before they start coming back with specifics. That's why, for example, on the first action item, should the council amend the current laws regarding sidewalk vending, rather than us taking a position on that now, we want to say, well, let's see what the options are before we talk about changing the rules. And so it is kind of a chicken and egg situation, and we're asking, I think, more than just a leap of faith. We're trying to, within the recommendation of staff, identify some decision points that we can agree on for additional information. Mr. Vice Chair, you want to add to that?
Yeah, it sounds to me like we're all wanting to have more meat on the bones on what a policy would look like here. And I have to say that the CLA's office has already done a lot. And I look at, like these charts, of comparative charts of the many different programs that there are around the city, many different policy questions that have to be answered as to each one of those. This is a great start, but like Ms. Martinez, I think I don't have the answers yet to which of those is working, which isn't working well enough, what would be the most appropriate model for Los Angeles, what would it cost. There's many, many questions, and I think to the chair's point, by moving forward today, let's stop just having conversations about it like this. This is useful, I think, even today, even though I heard from speakers today that I've heard several times speak on this topic already. I've already taken down notes of a number of things that I want to have included in this ordinance from just listening to people today. So I think this is a productive process. But at some point, we have to move past this conversation to actual action. And I think that the chair's direction here is to move forward, start really doing the in-depth reports, come back to this committee, and then with the strength of those reports, we can have the ammunition we need to be able to start actually drafting whatever policy we choose to embark upon at that point. But this is a step forward. We've already taken a number of steps forward with some of the work that's already been done, and now we just need to fill in a lot more of the blanks.
Any comments, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for my erstwhile attendance here. So I know this has been in the works for a long, long time, and it seems like a lot of work has been done. But this is the kind of thing that requires a lot of work because it involves changing the landscape of Los Angeles in a fairly significant way. If we think about New York and Atlanta, the other cities that have street vending, there's a significant infrastructure that goes along with that, and it's a significantly different environment as a result. My questions would be along the lines of the proposed insurance policies. So, you know, what's the cost of those policies? Who would write them? What would be the rules around such policies? And, you know, insurance is always a tricky thing in this city and in a district like mine where, you know, redlining is basically legal. So we'd want to check here to see if insurance isn't another way to sequester this or to make it illegal, effectively illegal in some places and legal in others. And so that would be the line of questions that I'm most curious about, although the questions put forward by other members I think are I share that curiosity as well.
Okay, well, members, if there's no objection, I'm going to recommend for Action 2 that we instruct the CLA with the assistance of the CAO and the Bureau of Street Services to report back with recommendations on the structure of a hybrid model, costs, staffing, resources needed for the program, specific rules and regulations for consideration by the council, including permit fee structure, the process for evaluating and improving permits, the process to form districts, recommendations for areas or streets to be designated no vending zones, and recommendations for areas or streets that should be designated green cart zones.
Another 2 different models that you looked at, can we also include that we come back with information about those other 2 models as well and the budget impacts that those approaches will have?
If that's the desire of the body.
Yes. So the other model would be basically a citywide model, which
we should
which
look
would more
at
likely
what that
would
option
be,
looks like.
Yeah, which would most likely be a less expensive option in terms of permitting because there wouldn't be the same notice requirements, et cetera.
The hybrid model, which consists of citywide plus special districts.
Right, and then
the opt-in, the opt-out model as well.
Right, the pepperoni model.
Right. Yeah, the hybrid is the most flexible model.
I understand that, but I don't have specifics on any of these 3 models, so that's what I would need to look at.
All right, so we've got, I guess, one objection. Any other concerns on that? All right, well, that'll be the order.
Just if I can clarify,
yes,
Mr. Chairman. So, first of all, the reports that we're asking for are to come back to this committee for further consideration when the CLA is done, and the other reporting officers. So this request goes to the council, and then the council would presumably vote to, and if council decides to move forward on these reports, that will come back to this committee for further work. Okay. So at presumably any point in that process, other information that members desired to seek reports back on, we could also consider it at that time. We could add on to that at any point in the process. It's just CLA wants to have some direction of where to go now. But at any point in this process, up until an ordinance is passed, I assume we could continue to ask for
It
other
could be
reports
changed
back.
or further information gathered. All right. So that will be the order for action 2. Action 3, the recommendation, CLA report back should include recommendations on the following: food and merchandise vending, including a list of recommended merchandise that could be sold and cart criteria. B, stationary and roaming cart regulations, including location and placement criteria. Permit cap, citywide, by area, and or limited by block. And I guess the discussion there is whether or not there would be a cap. Commercial residential vending criteria, including types of carts that could be allowed in each area, and varied days of operation, either by area, cart type, or other metric. Members, any comments on this
Just
recommendation?
very briefly, it's a very small point in the big scheme of things, but I just don't want it to get lost as we're talking about the bigger issues. It's going to be important to me to see that any policy encompass the concerns that were expressed about the sale of counterfeit goods, and also to ensure that filming permits would not be disrupted by these sale permits as well, so that we find that balance to be able to ensure that we don't lose jobs in production as we're moving forward.
Sorry, I know
Yes.
you can't see me behind the screen.
That's okay, Councilman.
Would it be beneficial to have a work group made up of vending advocates and maybe the business community to work with the CLA's office as we're coming up with these guidelines?
I think it's always desirable to include as many stakeholders as possible, and I would encourage
Can we do that?
the CLA to include that, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, item 4, should the council change the manner in which sidewalk vending is currently enforced? I think there's a general consensus that yes, we want to identify alternative enforcement mechanisms, and so the recommendation is to instruct the Bureau of Street Services, CAO, CLA, LAPD, City Attorney, and stakeholders to report on various levels of enforcement for the hybrid model, including staff and resources necessary for a proactive monitoring and compliance model. Members, any comments? Okay. And finally, should the penalty amounts for sidewalk vending be changed? Again, I think a consensus that we do want to take a look at those penalties. And so the recommendation is to...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Back to Action 4. Can we include LAFD, Fire Department?
Absolutely. That's a good catch. We'll include LA Fire Department also, along with the stakeholders, business and other stakeholders. Item 5, should the penalty for sidewalk vending violations be changed? Again, the recommendation is to request the city attorney, with assistance from the Bureau of Street Services, LAPD, LAFD, CAO, and the CLA, to report, and stakeholders, to report with options to decrease or increase penalty amounts and the penalty structure, including warnings, community services, escalating penalties, infractions, confiscation, license revocation and suspension, and differential fine amounts for licensed sidewalk vendors and unlicensed sidewalk vendors. This report would include the ability to add the Bureau of Street Services into the ACE program so that all sidewalk vending violations can be part of this alternative enforcement program. Any questions on that? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if we can we could just go back to action 3 for a minute. This is a CLA report back, and I think we should keep it as a CLA report back. I would just ask that in preparing that report, the CLA consult with DOT, the Department on Disabilities, Bureau of Street Services, and LAFD. And obviously any other agencies you think are appropriate, but those are the ones that come to my mind as ones that would want to have a say on these.
Any other clarification? And again, we're expecting the departments to do the work and to include stakeholder input, comment throughout this process. 2 additional recommendations: instruct the Bureau of Street Services to prepare an RFP for community-based organizations to do education and outreach services for the vending program, and to request the city attorney, with assistance of the city clerk, to report back on the ability to add an additional fee to the permit application for vending locations that are within business improvement districts, with that additional fee going to support bid functions. And this is a request we got from several of the business improvement districts around the city.
Mr. Chairman, on the first one regarding the RFP, what would be the nature of the outreach services there? Because I'm thinking if it's education about the policy, we may not be able to define a scope of work on the RFP very well until we have further definition on what the policy is. But if there's other areas of outreach that are appropriate, perhaps it's timely. But otherwise, I would think that we would want to wait until we get a little further down the road on defining the policy. But maybe I have something else in mind.
Well, I think we sort of want to get community groups involved early on, but you're right. Unless there's specifics, it's unclear exactly what they're going to be outreaching on. This was maybe premature, but it was a kind of proactive effort to get started in that process early.
All right. So if they begin that preparation but don't issue it yet, then the committee still has control over what's...
Everything's going to come back to the committee.
Okay.
Everything will come back to the committee. Yeah. Okay, if there are no objections, then we'll take the recommended action on items 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the additional recommendations regarding the community-based organizations and the additional fee for bids.
Second, if you need a second.
I'll take a second from you, Mr. Vice Chair. No objections? All right, members, that will be the order. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other business before us? Oh, public comment.
Public comment,
How
sir.
can we forget? All right. Maya Paley, Sophia Ching, Kathy Deppy. Thank you, CLA and staff. Thank you for your service. We got it. Pizza time. Again, I want to thank the CLA and staff for their excellent legwork, and there's more to do. All right, let's try this again. Maya, Sophia Chang, Kathy Depp, Joe Delgado, Giovanni Gomez, Michelle X. Come on up. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Maya Paley. And before I start, I just want to say that I'm proud to be a Los Feliz Neighborhood Council member, and we are in support of legalization of street vending. But I'm here today to talk about another important social and economic justice issue, and that's on behalf of the National Council of Jewish Women Los Angeles, where I'm a director. And I speak on behalf of 2,500 supporters and members throughout Los Angeles. We have 8 thrift stores and close to 90 employees within the thrift stores. And they earn, if they are full-time employees over 30 hours a week, they earn 12 sick days per year, just the same as I do. It's not ruining our business, which provides all of our revenue, 75% of our revenue to do the mental health services we do. It's the same as what I get as a director, and we believe that this is the right thing to do for families in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia? Not Sophia.
I'm speaking on behalf of her. She's losing her voice.
Okay. All right. What is your name, sir?
Well, thank you. My name is Manuel Villanueva, and I am with the Restaurant Opportunity Center. And we educate, do one-on-one conversations with restaurant workers mainly. And my reason of talking today to you here is about the sick days. There's still a lot of misinformation about the sick days. A lot of the workers suffer a lot of retaliation still, not knowing that this ordinance is still up since July 1st. They still been asked for doctor's notes. They're afraid that the schedule might change, and at times they get suspended just for taking a day off if they're sick. I know the city had passed an anti-retaliation laws really strong for wage theft, and I think that should get extend to retaliation against taking a paid sick day. And that'll make and create that healthy work environments a reality instead of just written in a piece of paper. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Baird with Community Health Councils, a advocacy organization in South LA that you're familiar with. So we're just here today to support the idea that vendors selling water, fruit, and USDA Smart Stacks and other healthy items is a great idea for the city, and particularly around schools, parks, and libraries and other places where children are present. And we believe this because this is an innovative solution to severe disparities in healthy food access in marginalized parts of Los Angeles. We'd also call your attention to a health impact assessment that we submitted to the council file last week that looks at street vending and student nutrition and that relationship. And our findings basically show that legalized vending wouldn't likely increase vendor activity near schools, but that there's still much to do for the city to legalize healthy vending and also invest in healthy food interventions from multiple access points within the community. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Kathy Depp, Joel Delgado, Giovanni Gomez, Michelle X, Sherry Bell, Robert Baird, Duran Juarez, Amikad Rappel, Yosin Martinez, Carlos Lopez, Orlando Santiago, Juan Rodriguez, Aaron Jimenez, Steve Zahn. Steve, come on up. Westwood Community Center, Westwood Community Council.
Thank you very much. Council members, thank you very much. My name is Steve San. I'm the chairman of the Westwood Community Council. I just wanted to have the opportunity to express one point that I'm not sure was focused on in the earlier matter. It was the issue of the percentage that it would require to create an opt-in situation. I think what I saw in the CLA report was a 20% figure, and that strikes us as very, very low. And if you use the model of community farmers market, which we have in Westwood and which you have throughout the city currently has a policy to use public space, a sidewalk or a street, for even a 3 or 4 hour farmer's market requires a 51% standard, that 51% of the affected businesses or properties are required to sign a petition in order to just do a one-day farmer's market. So we think that that is a much more fair approach. Otherwise, you have the tyranny of the minority, 20%, forcing their opinion on the 80% on the street. So we would like you to take a look at that, and we think the 51% used for farmers markets citywide is the right standard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Ruzbeth Farhanpur. And I apologize in advance.
Hello. My name is Ruzbeh Farhanpur. I am an immigrant to the United States 15 years ago based on political asylum, granted political asylum. I start my working here on the scratch on the restaurants, and I promoted to the general manager, and a few years ago I bought my own restaurant. I try to employ people here. And also last year I got elected as the president of the West Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, we represent 20,000 businesses in our boundaries. Most of them, they are small businesses. And on the legalization of the street vendors, we are wants to ask to make sure to community-based opt-in be considered, and also some of these vendors, they are operating as a commercial and as a chain and directly compete with some of the small businesses and mom-and-pop business owners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Mike Dennis with the East LA Community Corporation. Just wanted to reflect real quick on the direction. I appreciate that y'all are asking questions around details. What's really concerning to me is that there's been an unprecedented level of participation from the public on this. We've been dealing with the hearings. We've had numerous meetings with the CLA, and it seems like members of this committee have not talked to each other or inquired on these really important questions around the policy. If you had these level of concerns before, why are we waiting until now to do it? This is 2 years that this policy has been stuck in this committee. And we've been patient, we've been organizing, we've had folks putting forth ideas and materials that have not been received, have not been registered or considered in any way. We've been here and ready to have those conversations. It's really concerning with the timing around this. I urge council to please communicate with each other before the next hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the public comment. I want to thank everyone for their input. I know it's been a long process, a thorough process, but we want it to be inclusive and transparent. And so we're going to continue discussing these issues so that it's crystal clear, so that everyone has an opportunity to have some input, and that we're adopting the best policy possible. Again, that impacts consumers, brick and mortar stores, and street vendors. And we think there's a way to accommodate all three as they are accommodated in other communities. And so, Mr. Vice Chair, if you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is there any other business before us at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.